Hi, I'm Justin Pritchard, driving the BMW i8, which is this sort of plug-in hybrid electric high-performance car. Now, I want to start off with a story about another BMW I was driving first, and that is the M235i. I was driving that last summer. Had about a 4-hour drive to get home, no particular rush. Then I pull out to pass a transport truck, give it full throttle. We don't want to spend too much time in the oncoming traffic lane. So I put my foot down and I thought to myself, my goodness, this thing sounds like a treat. 3-liter straight six turbocharged, just a little rocket of a car, and man, did that engine sound good. So the rest of my drive home, I'm using the paddle shifters and kind of really making some fantastic noises, loving how this thing sounds. Fast forward a couple of days, go out for coffee with one of my buddies who's a car nerd just like me, and he checks the car out. He says, "Pritch, that M235i has this thing called active sound design, whereby they pump fake synthesized engine noise in over the stereo speakers." And I thought to myself, oh, it's a little awkward. I've been really enjoying how this car sounded all week. But as a child of the 80s and 90s who grew up kind of drooling over some of the best sports and performance cars ever built, I'm a much bigger fan of just having an engine that sounds good and hearing that. So I was a little bit at, unrest with myself that I was falling in love with how this car sounded, even though it was fake. And I mean, I knew that technology existed. I'd driven the BMW M5, the new one, a couple of years earlier when it came out, and it had something similar going on. I just didn't know that it was, spreading through the model line yet. So let's fast forward now to this BMW i8. Up front, I've got an electric motor, and in the back, a 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder. Now, all said, this is truly a performance car. 357 horsepower, 420 pounds of torque, and it goes like the wind. The thing is, in a car like this, you need validation. You put your foot down, you want to hear a good noise coming to your ears from the power plant. But in this car, at any given moment, the engine might be shut off. It might be a higher proportion of power coming from the battery and electric motor system. So to, give drivers that validation, that great performance car sound when they put their foot into it, they've come up with active sound design, but in this car, it's working a lot harder. See, in the M5 and the M235i, other BMWs, it's kind of augmenting a sound that's already there. In this car, active sound design is basically giving it its entire performance signature. Look, let me hear what it sounds like. Gear down here. It's one of those blips. See if it'll give me one more. Listen to that. Okay, so get on it. It sounds remarkable and it sounds authentic, and the interesting thing is that they've just nailed it in terms of the tone, the impact, the character of that noise, the way it hits you and floods into the cab, and even the fact that it's playing from the rear speakers, suggesting to you that that engine is indeed behind you. They've just nailed it, and what's even more remarkable is how precisely calibrated it is against the throttle. All the little nuances, all of the little details. At low revs, if you put your foot into it, it kind of sounds a bit like it's lugging. At higher RPMs, the volume goes up. It generates this sort of peaky, exciting, rising volume experience when you put your boot down. If you got in this car blind, didn't know what you were driving, you'd probably just think you were in something with like a really snotty V6 or even a little highly strung V8. You've got the power, the noise matches it. They've really just absolutely nailed how precisely the system works. It's phenomenal. And actually, there's even an external speaker inside of the rear bumper. So if you peel out of the office at 4 o'clock on a Friday, anybody standing nearby is going to hear some degree of that noise too. Let's listen to it one more time. I don't know if the microphone's picking it up, but you're also hearing the electric motor kicking in there too. This whine, it's not really unlike a supercharger, so it just adds to the unique sound of this car. I hate it. I hate that I love how this thing sounds, but I've got to say they've done a fantastic job. So what does this mean into the future? Are tuner kids in 10 or 20 years going to be buying Harman Kardon exhaust systems and saying, bro, I just souped up my exhaust with a new set of subwoofers? Well, who knows? I think in our generation now, while people still know what an exhaust note is, that this technology is going to become more and more common as engines downsize and vehicles go partially electric. They've done a fantastic job with it, they really have. And I mean, I can live with it. At the end of the day, my ears don't know the difference. My brain and kind of my heart do. So, I don't know, take it as you will. What do you think? Do you want synthesized engine sounds, or do you just want to hear that 3-cylinder turbocharged engine instead? Let's listen one more time.